you're involved with teaching, it is a very creative work.
Yeah.
It is. It has to be, because you're dealing with human beings and they all have different views of things, and you want to give them the best you can.
Welcome to Your Origin Story, the podcast where we serve up life's most compelling recipes. I'm your host, Sherwin, inviting you to join me as we dive deep into the stories of remarkable individuals who are shaping the landscape of Goa. From entrepreneurs to artists, athletes to health gurus, we'll explore the paths that brought them to where they are today. Broadcasting from the Origin Goa in Sarauli, South Goa. This isn't just a podcast. It's a celebration of passion, perseverance, and the unique journeys that define success. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the origins of greatness. Today we are honored to have with us Mrs. Therese Almeida, a visionary educator and the founder of Manovikas School, one of Goa's finest educational institutions. What began as a modest school with just 10 students in a single room has flourished into a leading ICSE school, now home to over 2,000 students. Under her guidance, Manovikas has set a new standard for education in Goa, offering top-notch facilities and a nurturing environment for young minds to grow. In this episode, we'll explore her remarkable journey, the challenges she's overcome, and the legacy she's built through her passion for education. Welcome, Ms. Therese Almeida. So, Mrs. Almeida, please tell us a little bit about your early days in Goa. How did you move to Goa? How was the journey? What was the reason you moved to Goa?
Well, I was born in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad,
Okay.
and I lived among a very varied set of people: Bengalis, Parsis, East Indians,
Okay.
mixed Indians,
Okay.
all of them. And South Indians too, because I was indoctrinated into Carnatic music, where the South Indians used to practice every day, and we had to listen
Oh.
because it was next door. Anyway, so for me, and I was born just before independence.
Okay.
Yeah, so the few years before 1947, our home was near the main police station in Ahmedabad. We saw
Okay.
a lot of uh, activity there
Yeah.
of soldiers and people moving
Okay, okay.
around, because it was
This
World
is
War II.
pre-independence.
Yeah. So uh, there were a lot of questions in my mind in my childhood of what was going on
Okay.
in the world. So in many ways, I imbibed a culture which was very Indian,
Okay.
mixed, not
Okay.
Gujarati or anything, but a culture, because next door to our house was a temple and in front was a Muslim graveyard. So Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Parsis, all kinds of people
Yeah.
lived together, and that made me what I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in which year did you move to Goa? When did you come to Goa?
We came to Goa on a holiday after we were married.
Okay.
I married in 1963.
1963. Okay.
Yeah, and December 63, we decided to come to Goa
Okay.
with a lot of friends of ours. Mario, Habiba, and all of us were here together. And we came to December, so it was Christmas time and it was fun and we had a good time. And Sato had relations in Margao.
Okay.
Yeah, so because his mother's home was in Margao.
Okay.
Originally.
Were you married already
Yeah, we
before
were
you came to
married.
Goa?
Yeah, before
Okay.
we came to Goa.
Okay. Okay.
We married in Ahmedabad. I
Okay.
mean, that's another story.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, so we came to Goa and we had a very good time. And Goa was different
Okay.
because everyone knew everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
That's how Goa is also.
Yeah. No, at that time it
Oh.
was really, Margao was like, everyone felt at home with other people because everyone really knew everyone else.
Okay.
And the center of meeting was the BPS club.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's where I met a lot of other Goans, friends,
okay.
Luis Peregrine and Mohandas and Suresh Kamath and Amilkar and
Okay.
many. And we remained friends since that time. So we went back to Ahmedabad,
Okay.
and Sato was working with Mr. Doshi,
Okay.
very well known architect who
Okay.
was awarded the Pritzker Prize recently.
Okay.
He also passed away. But then, because we had come to Goa and Sato fell in love with this place,
Okay.
he said, we are going to move to Goa.
So it was Sato who liked
Yeah,
Go.
yeah.
So he
So
says, let's come.
I said, no way, because I didn't want to come here and leave, an interesting life actually. So we came here. For me, it was like, quite culture shock.
Yeah. So which year did you move to Goa?
64.
64. So the following year
Yeah, we
you
came here in 64, May.
Okay.
And Stahl was born in August 64.
Okay. Okay.
So I had a lot of adjusting to do.
Okay. Were you working back there in Ahmedabad? No.
I was working in Ahmedabad. I was
Okay.
teaching. And I was also involved with a lot of educators
Okay.
because Sato had done a school for Leena Ben Mangaldas Sarabhai,
Okay.
Vikram's sister,
Okay.
Vikram Sarabhai's sister. He had designed a school for her, which was purely on Montessori lines because Maria Montessori had come to live with the Sarabhais during the war. So she had started the school, and now she had acquired 40 acres of land, and she wanted to build a school with a beautiful outdoor arena and a stage and all that.
Okay.
So Sato was the architect for that.
Okay.
So he got interested in education because Nina Ben
Okay.
was an educator who was very firmly um, founded in the ideas of Montessori. And there were other people who were involved with education
Okay.
at the same time. One of them was an American lady who was the wife of Sato's colleague. He was an architect and he had come to set up this College of Architecture
Okay.
to help. And she was also from Harvard. And so we would discuss a lot about education, and I helped her to start a play school and got involved with all that. And I was teaching at the same time at the convent.
Okay.
That experience was not very good, but I don't want to speak about it.
No problem at all.
No, because the convents might get upset.
No worries. No worries.
Anyway,
So, Mr. Almeida, how did you develop an interest in education? Like,
no,
why?
because I met this American lady. I had already taught, and I didn't want to be a teacher.
Okay.
I wanted to join art school.
Art school.
Yeah, because I love drawing and painting.
Okay.
But my parents thought that kind of profession is not very respectable. And teaching was the only respectable profession for a girl
Okay.
in those days, in the
So
60s.
that's how you got
So
into
I got
education.
into teaching. But I enjoyed it. And because teaching is a subject where you're dealing with a lot of people and
Yeah.
you try to, get the best out of yourself and out of them as well.
Okay.
I mean, that was my philosophy of teaching.
Okay.
So I carried on like that.
So that's how you got into the education.
Yes. And
Otherwise, you would have been
then
probably doing arts.
this Ruth Cohn, she was very much interested in children's education.
Okay, the American lady
Yeah,
that you just
yeah. And she was from Harvard.
Okay.
She had done her teaching studies there.
Okay.
And her architect husband was also from Harvard. So we used to discuss a lot, meet often, because Sato was a colleague of his. So then she decided to open a play school to keep herself busy, and because she had a little daughter.
Okay.
So I joined her to help her with the play school. And so we got involved with, education for very little ones, as well as I was teaching in the higher classes at that time in the convent. So that's how I got into teaching actually,
Okay.
and into education, and we discuss a lot.
Yeah.
So if you really are involved with teaching, it is a very creative work.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It has to be, because you're dealing with human beings and they all have different views of
Yeah.
things, and you want to uh, give them the best you can.
If you ask me, I would say you need a lot of patience being in this kind of job, or
No, you need, but
it's
I think kids are just wonderful. You don't
yeah,
really have to, if you win them over and you're ready to get
yeah,
along together and do different things.
yeah.
They love being
I
creative.
guess it's just the approach that
Yes,
you.
yeah.
So, Mrs. Almeida, how did you end up starting your own school, like Manovikas?
Well,
How did
it
that
was
come up?
like this that when we came to Goa, then I had Myelin and Rabin and sort of said, now what are you going to do? Because Stahl was almost 4.
Yeah.
And he said, you'll have to do something about it, because at that time also, uh, there was only Loyola School,
Yeah.
Fatima Convent, and Model. These
Okay.
were the 3 supposedly,
Existing schools.
yes,
Okay.
existing schools, which were sort of catering to the middle class.
Okay.
Others, there was Popular also, and Nutan for
Yeah.
girls
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that. But these were the 3 supposedly good institutions. So I took a look at Loyola's, and I was not taken up by what was happening there, because at that time the principal was very strict with the
Yeah.
children,
I,
and
I
they were,
am. I am a loyalite.
yeah.
So.
And no, one of my friends, the lady who encouraged me to start the school actually,
And who was this lady?
Dr. Govind Naik's wife.
Dr. Govind Naik's
Yeah,
wife.
yeah, because we were very close friends.
Okay.
G.V. Naik, and because he had also just come from abroad
Okay.
as a doctor, and she, like me, was not from Goa. And we
Okay.
shared a lot of different things together.
Oh.
She's also a Mangalorean.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot in common.
Yeah.
And so we would chat a lot. And she had this son, he was going to Loyalers, and
Yeah.
he used to come back and say that they used to be punished and all that.
Okay.
Physical punishment was there, and so she was very upset about that.
So you thought, why not start a school with a
No,
different?
so then, and Sato was saying that you have to think about it, because there's no school that is there to send the children to.
Okay, all your kids were still very young, not yet
Yeah,
gone to school.
they were not yet. Stahl was born in
Oh.
'64,
Okay.
and so in '67, uh, he broached this idea to me that I should plan.
Sato.
So I sat down, worked out, thought of different things. And then by 68, I went back to Ahmedabad.
You went back to Ahmedabad.
I
So this is
went
before
back
this,
to,
much before the school started.
to meet all the people whom I knew who were involved with education.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I met Lena Ben, and then I met Mrs. Cole again. And I prepared a whole sort of plan of how we would run the school,
Very
what
nice.
would happen, all that. And I ran it with them, discussed everything, and they said, "Oh, this is a great idea."
So I think that played a big role. You were knowing people in the industry.
Yes,
And you're going back to
yes,
Ahmedabad and knowing
exactly.
all this.
So after going there and meeting with them, they said, "You go ahead, don't worry, it'll be fine." Because I prepared a manifesto also,
Oh.
and I went with that. And they said, "No, this sounds very good. You try it out and
Okay.
let us know how it works." So I came back, and then we had to start the school. Now, Sharda Mandir had already started.
Okay. Sharda Mandir is
Yeah, in
started before
Banjul.
one of you guys. Okay.
And we were very friendly with Mr. Pilgaonkar, who was the founder and chairman of the Sharda
Sharda
Mandir
Mandir.
Trust at that time. He and Sato were close friends. So when he told us how they began the school,
Okay.
you know, and he said that everybody who was a founder member contributed an amount of money, and they put that together, they found a place and started. So
That is their story, basically.
yeah. So we thought that was a good idea,
Okay.
and so I prepared this manifesto, and Dr. G.V. Naik's wife and I went along, and we met people. First, we met Bapalal Gusalia and discussed the idea with him, because Bapalal had already started the Margaon Cricket Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he had experience of putting an institution together. So we went to him. Then we discussed it with many of our friends,
Yeah.
Dr. Amelkar, Piti Kutiro, Ravi's dad, and they were close friends of ours.
Okay.
Dr. Naik, of course, and Mohandas Naik, and many other people. So they said, no. They all had small children. So they said, you start and we'll all join.
Okay.
So that was very encouraging. So each one of us put in 1100 rupees.
1100 rupees.
Yeah.
How many of you were?
20.
20 of you.
20 settlers. These were the settlers. And we opened an account and made the rules. So it was a non-profit organization. Totally all funds to be used for education. Nothing would be, no profit for anybody there.
Okay.
And if you are required to work for the school, you do it at your own expense,
Okay.
whatever. So that is how we started.
Very nice. Okay. So the first school was somewhere next to Loyola's, I think.
Yes, it was just behind the corner where the road turns.
Yeah. Where Monjini's is currently, I think.
No, exactly, the end of the road from Loyola's, you come out
Yeah.
and you come to the corner of that, and the road turns to go to Kamba.
Yes.
So that corner was our house.
Okay.
That house, there was a house there which belonged to Palondikar, and
Okay.
Francis Figueiredo used to live there before.
Okay.
It was a good, nice bungalow
Okay.
with a hall, a large other room, and
Okay. Thank you.
the typical Goan
Yeah,
house
yeah.
with rooms going back, and then.
So what is the reason you all moved to a new location?
Oh, that was too small
Too
for
small.
us. What happened was, it was okay at that time because we started out with 14 children,
14.
and then at the end of the year, we had 48.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from then on, it sort of grew.
Okay.
So
You needed a new space because that wasn't enough.
as it grew, we needed space. So first we got the Palondikar had another house across the road,
Okay.
which had a nice ground, small ground.
Yeah.
So there was a old Goan house there,
Okay.
with a area a little much larger than this.
Okay.
Quite a lot of area around it.
Okay. But still not enough.
And so we had the junior children from
Okay.
up to the second standard, from pre-primary to second standard in that area. It was safe. They didn't have to cross the road, and they had place to play. So it
Okay.
was good. And then later on, Divti had closed down. There was a newspaper,
Okay.
Avida, which was
I have no idea.
There used to
about
be
this.
a newspaper in Margaon,
Okay.
which then changed. It was Portuguese,
Okay.
and then it changed to Divti, which was part English, part Konkani
Okay.
paper,
Okay.
and they closed also.
Okay.
So then that house was empty. So we managed to get it, and we moved. We had some classes over there, and it had a nice ground, quite a large ground.
Okay.
So children could play football and all of that. So we had all this, but then we were growing too fast, and then in 91, the Kuwait War took place.
Okay. Okay.
And there was an influx of people from Kuwait who came to Goa and wanted admission in school.
Okay.
And we had no room and no place. And
they chose Manovikas.
Yeah. And Everyone wanted to come there.
Okay.
So the problem was where to put all these children. So for a little while, we borrowed the hall of Adarsh School, and 2 classes were running there.
Oh,
And then meanwhile, we got Jogle's factory was lying empty.
okay.
So there was a factory shed, nothing
Okay.
else. A factory shed which was very large, as large as this whole space here,
Okay.
right to the end, or about large as your football ground
Okay.
or whatever. And this shed was lying vacant for a long time because they used to just store rubbish over there, store things, you know. So since we had to move, we got that shed because Borkers was interested in buying that property.
Okay.
And Prakash Borkar was one of our trustees.
Okay.
So he said, why don't you use that shed?
All right.
You can use it for 2 years, and by that time you can start your building. Now we
Okay.
had already got the plot for our building
Where is this? Saucer?
where the school is.
Okay.
And there was no Sosaro there at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
There was no
we
doubt.
went and saw the plot, and we liked it very much. And in 81, we got the plot, but we didn't have funds to build because we were broke.
Okay.
So we had to wait. And meanwhile, this was in 81. And in 90, we shifted to this Chogle factory
Okay. Hathauda.
during the war,
Okay.
91 Kuwait war. So now the problem was to get enough funds to build this
So how did you manage that?
school. No, then we had a lottery, we sold tickets, we had different fundraising things, and managed to find
Okay.
some funds for a place.
Okay.
So once we got the plot, then it was an incentive to start building. You know? But we started building only in 90. So from 81 to 90, some of the plot was lying vacant, and we hadn't put a compound wall.
Yeah.
So the dumping of the garbage started then. And we didn't know about it.
Since it was an empty space that was not
Empty
occupied.
space, yeah. So when I happened to take the kids for an outing that side, and to climb the hill where now the cemetery and all
Yeah,
this.
okay.
So we went up that hill, and I took a look at this place, and I said, good Lord, it was full of garbage. So I came back and told the trustees, this is what has happened here, because nobody paid attention. Nobody went that side. Who went? I mean, unless you were going to Kurturi, you wouldn't go that side.
Yeah, correct.
So that's how that started over there.
I have a very important question to you now. The question is, how did you come up with the name Manovikas for the school? How did?
We were thinking of, what kind of name to give.
Yeah.
And we wanted an Indian name, not a Latin origin name, and not a name of anything, but something to do with how the mind works and how children will learn. And so we were thinking of all this, and Sujata, Dr. Naik's wife, she came one day and she said, Therese, what do you think of the name Manovikas?
So,
So I said, oh, that's very good, because, we were thinking what kind of name to give the school. And because we had a whole list of names, the schools I knew in Ahmedabad were called Abhinav and Shreyas and different Sanskrit names. But this one sort of I felt was something that would...
Does it have any meaning, the first half of it is?
Manovikas is development of the mind.
Development of?
The mind.
Okay.
Vikas means growth.
Yeah.
And man is the mind. So growth of the mind is Manovikas.
Okay. So did Sato play any role with the design of the new school? No.
He
Okay.
was consulted,
Okay.
but Rajesh and Ramesh,
Yeah.
Rajiv and Ramesh, who
Okay.
did the design, uh, they were working for Sato.
Okay.
And since he was a trustee,
Yeah.
he said, I cannot do this job because I cannot be paid for it.
Oh.
So, it would mean a lot of work.
Mhm.
So, I'll supervise it, but let them do the
Okay.
job. So, Rajiv and Ramesh took up the work,
Okay.
and they're still connected with any expansion that is going on
Okay.
at school.
So regarding your personal life, how did you manage having 4 kids and the school and your kids are different age groups? It must have been a very tough.
It was at that time when we were in near Loyola's,
Yeah.
it was easy.
Okay.
Because
Smaller numbers also.
Yeah, the small numbers. No, we worked full day.
Okay.
Yeah, we started with the idea that we would work till 3:30. So from 8:30 to 3:30. We started 9 to 4, but
Okay.
then we shifted because the children get late going home.
Yeah.
So we upped it half an hour. But the thing was that, and Saturday would be closed.
Okay.
But since I was totally committed to the school, I used to go even on Saturday, half a day.
Okay.
Not for anything else, but just to look after the office work and what is to be done.
Okay.
In all this, I was lucky, fortunately, because the children were very independent.
Oh.
Stal, Raban,
Okay.
Mylan, Raban was a baby, but the other two were quite independent. And I had a person at home, the maid at home, to look after them was very good. Absolutely good.
Okay.
They were so efficient. They knew their work well. They kept the house in order. They ironed, they cooked, they washed, they checked, they bathed the babies,
Okay.
they kept the cupboards neatly folded.
So that gave you
They did
that comfort level
everything.
at least.
Yes. So I really didn't have much to do at home.
Okay.
So I was able to leave them to that job. And of course, Stal and Mylan started coming to school from the time, and Rabin was a baby. So he was alone at home, and then Nanami came after the school was already started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another question to you, Mrs. Almeida, is regarding the curriculum. Uh, you decided to go with ICSE. Any reason why you wanted to have that board?
I went to a senior Cambridge school.
Okay.
So did Sato.
Okay.
So both of us had that experience of what is a senior Cambridge school. And we found that the schools that were SSC
Yeah.
didn't have the kind of vision or even the kind of requirements that a senior Cambridge school had.
Okay.
And since we were both students, and the senior Cambridge exam is very demanding, at least when I did it.
Okay.
And when Sato did it, there was Latin also.
Okay.
So when I did it, we had Hindi because French was no longer used in
Okay.
India, but so we had Hindi. But all the subjects were in detail. Whatever we had to study, if you had done your senior Cambridge, you went to first year and second year of college, you already knew most of that.
Oh.
It is very detailed.
Okay. Another question I needed to ask you. You've spoken a little bit about it already. You've always emphasized on holistic education. Could you tell us
Now,
what it
that
means to you?
is something I would like to explain.
Yeah.
I felt that children learn automatically because they are learning animals.
Okay.
Every child, if he's given a chance, will learn. They don't have to be taught, except to be taught to read or write. But since they are curious, and children are quite helpless if they don't learn. They are born helpless.
Yeah.
unlike birds or animals.
True. True.
So they have to learn to survive. So there's no question of them not learning,
Mm.
but you don't have to force learning on them.
That's a very nice.
You have
That's a,
to give them the opportunities to read, write, draw, imagine things, do things, use materials. And when they are able to do all this, they themselves begin to
yeah.
experiment and they themselves begin to realize that they have a capacity to learn.
And now that you've been retired all these years, do you miss being at
I go
Manovikas?
there. I
Okay.
go often. I meet the teachers.
Okay.
I don't. I miss it in some ways,
Yeah.
but I'm involved with education
Yeah.
still, and particularly preschool education. I've done
Okay.
a lot of work on that, so I'm trying to put it all together and make a book.
It's
If
very
at all
nice.
I
It's very
do.
nice because I think what I feel is if you've spent so many years of your life there, it's very difficult to even let go of something, right? You have been in that system the whole time. So
Mm.
these small bits and pieces are very important to still be there, at least in some form.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Almeida, another question to you is what are you most proud about Manovikas as a school? What is your take
I
on that?
think that the children are independent. They're
Yeah.
independent thinkers. They are creative. Hopefully, they continue to be creative
Okay.
because I don't really keep in touch now with how things are
Yeah.
working, but they have access to a lot of learning,
Mhm.
and many of them are using that as well as they can. So
Yeah.
I think things are going well over there.
Okay.
I don't really involve myself with what's going on.
I think the ideas of educating the children, if you ask me as a person, I think that would be the best way to instill these values into them. I think they would learn much better this way
Yes.
than how the other schools are going about it. It's very,
Well, the other schools, unfortunately, they do what is accepted, what
uh,
has been going on for centuries.
yeah,
So, and they don't really think about it. Some
yeah.
teachers do.
Like you said that it's good that you give them the opportunity to be creative, right? You're giving them the tools. They'll use the tools the way they want instead
Yeah.
of the teacher telling them use them in this way. You're killing creativity in that sense if you ask me that. So
Yes.
every
Correct.
child will have a
Yes.
different way of doing.
Hmm.
So my final question to you is if you could give one piece of advice to aspiring educators or school founders, what would it be?
Well, I'll say uh, children are born to learn.
Mhm.
You don't have to worry about that. What you have to worry about is that they learn to be confident. You know, when you think of a school, there are certain ideas that you must have. One is that uh, to start with, there should be awareness.
Okay.
Children must become aware of everything around them, become aware of things changing, become aware of all the happenings that are going on and why they are going on. And that is to be created. It can't be that you don't get it in a book. So, awareness, attitude.
Okay.
You work on attitude. Children must have an attitude of interest, an attitude of caring, an attitude of curiosity, willingness to do things. All these things count. So you worry about awareness and attitude, then you worry about knowledge, because knowledge is to be acquired. And then you think about skills. Uh, Once the child uh, is required, he has to develop skills to write, skills to understand, skills to read, skills to make sense of what he reads, to use the dictionary, to read a map. All these are skills. But unless they get these skills, they're quite helpless. So you have to worry about that. You have to think about it. Make sure that they develop these skills. Don't just leave it to them and say it'll automatically happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Okay.
So, those are some of the areas. And then once they have acquired all this, they have to learn how to participate
Okay.
with everyone else and live together. These are the main areas: your awareness, your acceptance of things, your knowledge, your skills, and your participation.
Mhm.
If you pay attention to all this, it doesn't matter what the textbook says. Textbooks, you don't have to learn from a text.
Yeah.
The text is just putting things together of knowledge, and it is not so important. Once the child learns all this, he will read the text and know it.
Mm.
It's not it's not necessary.
Very well
But
said.
these are important for life. Once you have all this, life has meaning. Life has something to offer to you. Otherwise, you go through it without really getting the best out of it.
I think with this, we come to the end of our first episode of The Origin Story. Thank you very much, Mrs. Therese Almeida, for joining us and sharing your stories. Okay. Thank you all for listening.